Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I've got some new cards to show you again today, but I just want to say thanks to all you guys who are commenting and leaving likes on the videos. I really appreciate it. It's always great to hear your opinions as well, and also when you guys correct me, it's pretty useful as well. So thanks guys, I hope you enjoyed this video too, so let's get started. Let's start the video today with one of the flagship cards for the set, and this is called Zul'jin. He's the new hero card, so we are getting one. He costs 10 mana, has a battle cry, cast all spells you've played this game, targets chosen randomly, and you get 5 armor as well. So this is kind of like a toned down Yogg-Saron. It doesn't cast random spells, it just casts the spells that you've played this game, which actually can be really positive because you can plan what spells you want to play and want to replay, and then you know which ones are going to happen when you play Zul'jin, so that can be quite important. The hero power is also upgraded. This is to Berserker Throw, which deals 2 damage, and basically it means you can just target minions with your hero power, which is actually very good, but it's not as powerful as a lot of the, well, pretty much all of the other hero powers, which seem to generate consistent value in these hero cards. But I quite like that. I quite like that they've toned down the power level of Zul'jin. He is good in specific decks, but overall it's quite a balanced power, I think. So let's take a look at some of the spells you would use with Zul'jin, and there are quite a few because Hunter does have some pretty good spells available to them. But if you look here, we'll start with the lower cost ones. It's not likely to go into a Death Rattle deck, so these kind of ones don't work. Hunter's Mark, interesting to note, targets are random, so it might impact your own minions. Secret Plan would be a good one, generate another secret. Of course, all your actual secrets that you're playing are going to be one of the main targets because there's no downside to replaying those. So if you've played 5 secrets, for example, you're going to be getting 10 mana of secrets coming back when you play Zul'jin, which is already quite good. Tracking isn't very good because, again, you'll discard 2 cards and draw 1 from your deck. So if you've already played 2 of them, you've already discarded 4 cards. When you play Zul'jin, you'll discard another 4 cards. So tracking's very good in Hunter. Maybe you would have to leave it out of a Zul'jin deck. We'll see. I do want to know the Marsh Queen, although I don't think this is going to be a good play. One interesting use of it is if you're playing Quest Hunter, you finish the quest, you play Queen Carnessa, put all the raptors into your deck, then you play Zul'jin, out comes your quest again, you complete your quest with some of the raptors, then you get to play Queen Carnessa and shuffle more raptors in. So probably not worth it, but something pretty cool interaction with both cards. I think some of the best ones are going to be Animal Companion because you're going to be summoning minions. And if you've played 2 of these, summoning 2 would be fantastic, as well as if you've played it with To My Side. Deadly Shot is great because it will target enemy minions. Kill Command won't. It could hit your face, it could hit your opponent's face or minions or your minions, so that's more difficult to control. Multi-shot would be fantastic. Wing Blast and Flanking Strike, those sort of ones again can target your own minions, same with Explosive Shot. But another one of the really strong ones would be the Emerald Spellstone. So this card is kind of leaning towards a Secret Hunter deck, I think would definitely work very well. Worth noting though, when you replay the Spellstone, it will only summon you 2 wolves. It won't be upgraded to summon all of them. But still, I think that is still a good play. If you've played 2 of these, plus a couple of companions, maybe with To My Side as well, you're going to be refilling your board with beasts. You can also play the deck with Flux Boomzooka, but to be honest, most Spell Hunter decks don't have minions, so you're not really going to get the advantage of this. Maybe you just want to play Zul'jin in a different kind of deck, which doesn't play too many spells, maybe a few secrets, but it also has a lot of minions that you bring out with Flux Boomzooka. But is it really worth it? I don't think so. So what do I think about this card? I think it's fun. I think the power level is very well balanced. I think it works well in Secret Hunter. Any kind of Spell Hunter as well might be able to work quite well with this. But it is not an oppressive hero card. I think when Knights of the Frozen Throne rotates out, I think it will be a good thing for the game because there won't be any more of these super powerful hero cards, which I did really enjoy. I think they're fantastic. Some of the most fun cards ever printed. But the problem is after about a year of playing with them, I think they became quite oppressive. And the last 3 that they've printed with Hagatha, Dr. Boom and Zul'jin, I think are better for the game. Perhaps not as exciting, but still I think moving the game in the right direction. Next up, let's take a look at a new mage secret, and a good one in my opinion. This is called Splitting Image. It costs 3 mana like all the secrets. It's epic, and the secret is when one of your minions is attacked, summon a copy of it. So mage doesn't always play a lot of minions, but I'm thinking Lich King, Sindragosa. They also sometimes play Mountain Giants. Now the problem with those cards, except for Mountain Giant I suppose, is that they cost 8 mana, so you couldn't put this card down at the same time or on the same turn. So how many times does your Lich King really survive for one turn? Usually you only get one card out of it because your opponent has to remove it. However, there are some cards for 7 mana that you could play with this with that would work really well. I think Astromancer would be a great one to play. You play Astromancer, summon a minion equal to the amount of cards in your hand, then you play Splitting Image, and your opponent's got a decision to make. It also works really well with Jan'alai. So when you play Jan'alai for 7 mana, you're summoning Ragnaros, and you play Splitting Image. Your opponent doesn't know what to do, because one of the main things about the secret is you don't even have to play Splitting Image. Splitting Image just has to exist in the game. So let's say you haven't actually drawn Splitting Image and you play something else like Counterspell. Your opponent knows that you've put Ragnaros on the board and they're thinking, well, I need to remove Ragnaros, but if I attack into it, is this going to be Splitting Image? And it kind of creates those cool kind of plays that your opponent has to try and play around. Now, yes, they can attack straight into Jan'alai, and then you're not resummoning another Ragnaros. But the thing with that as well is that it means they might not have wanted to make that trade, and then they might not have sufficient resources left to get rid of Ragnaros. So it's got those kind of cool uses. It would also work quite well in Elemental Mage because they have a lot of minions. So even if you resummoned a 4, 5 or 6 cost minion, it's worth playing. But I don't think that sort of deck wants more spells, so unless you discover it out of Arcane Keysmith, again, not that great. I don't think it would go into that sort of deck. So it really wants to go into big minion mage decks or control mage type decks, and then those decks don't run too many big minions. So do you want to have this card in your deck to be able to do that? I don't know. But if you randomly discover this, then I think it could be a really good spell. It is just called a cool one to put into the pool of spells, I think. Next up, let's take a look at Spirit of the Rhino, and man, is this a good card. It costs 1 mana, has 0 attack and 3 health. This is the spirit for Warrior, and it has stealth for 1 turn, just like the other ones, and your rush minions are immune the turn they are summoned. Wow, this can be really, really good. I think I was a bit confused about this card at first because the way it's worded, it says your rush minions are immune. Now, we know in Warrior there are a lot of ways to get your minions that aren't rush minions to give them rush, such as the Boom Ship or the Dr. Boom's effect with mechs. So I actually contacted Peter Whalen, who is the lead designer on Hearthstone, and he said yes, that it does work that way. So I stole that idea from Gedges because he got a reply from Peter Whalen yesterday, which was pretty cool. So this just suddenly makes your rush minions incredibly strong. Now, if you've played Dr. Boom, all of your mechs will have rush, so whenever you decide to play Spirit of the Rhino, and remember you can put 2 of these in your deck, just for 1 mana, it gives any mech you played that turn immune to trade. That is a huge tempo play. It's also really, really good to play with the Boom Ship because you play this for 1 mana, then you play Boom Ship for 9 mana. You get 3 big minions out that won't lose any health when you trade them in. That is really good. But actually where it could also see a lot of play is in a Tempo Warrior deck, because Rush Warrior was kind of played around with when Rush was introduced. It didn't quite work. It was quite good, but not quite there. But imagine now you can play this just for 1 mana, and then you play Darius Crowley. Darius Crowley trades into a 4 health minion. It dies, and then he becomes a 6/6. And then you've got this 6/6 that can suddenly trade into anything your opponent plays the next turn, which will continually gain 2/2. And actually, it's a huge tempo play with any rush minion that you play, because a lot of games in Hearthstone are decided very early on who can control the board early enough. And I think in a Tempo Warrior, being able to gain that extra value of trading a minion in without it dying or losing any health can be really, really strong. and I've said this before, but the spirits that cost 1 mana are going to be really strong because they're so flexible. You can play this in the early game without too much of a downside, and you can play it in the late game with huge mana left over to spend. Man, if you're playing any kind of rush deck, this could be really good. I think it's so good that even in Odd Warrior, you might still play this, because if you're playing a Mega Assembly, you're getting 3 mechs and discovering mechs from Dr. Boom. It might even still be worth playing it if those are the only rush minions you're playing. So I like this card, and one of the better spirits actually. Next, let's take a look at a neutral legendary minion called Mojo Master Z. He costs 6 mana, is 5 attack and 5 health, and has a really cool effect. Battle Cry, set each player to 5 mana crystals. Wow, this has some really cool implications, and a really interesting card to print for Hearthstone. What I like about it is it's kind of some druid hate. So if druids are ramping up playing Wild Growth and Nourish, getting to 10 mana, if you're still on 6, you can just play this and you set the druid back down to 5, and you as well. So that will be one of the main uses for it. It's also really good against combo decks. So in the late game, if both of you at 10 mana and you know they're about to play their combo, let's say they're playing Mechathune, for example, they've only got the cards left in their hand to play the Mechathune combo in Priest. They need 10 mana crystals. Well, if you play this the turn before, suddenly they've got no cards in their deck. They've only got these cards in their hand, which are useless, and you can then eventually kill them, and they'll fatigue themselves too. So a really good card to work against Mechathune. It could also be really good for mid-range decks or potentially aggro decks, because it stops control decks getting their really strong powerful turns, their board clears such as Psychic Scream or Twisting Nether, but also cards like Master Oakheart on turn 9 getting out big boards that aggro decks can't really get past. Well, if you play Mojo Master Z, it gives you more of a chance to stay in the game. And decks that have a much lower mana curve, such as aggro decks and mid-range decks, will actually benefit from this. So it's really, really cool. Now, one thing that is unclear about the wording, so I'm not 100% sure on this, but it says Battle Cry, set each player to 5 mana crystals. So you could read this as, you play this for 6 mana, and then you get set to 5 mana crystals, so you have 5 mana left to play. I don't think that's how it works. I think it would set you to... You would go from 6 to 5 mana crystals, which you won't be able to play. I think they'll be empty for you, but for your opponent they'll be full for when they play their turn. I think that's how it would work. I really hope that's how it works, because otherwise it's a little bit insane. So I like this card. It's a cool kind of tech card, which is anti-druid, anti-combo, potentially anti-control as well. Hopefully it doesn't become too oppressive in aggro, but I don't think it will do. Next up, we've got another pirate for Rogue. It's called Bloodsail Howler. 2 mana card, 1/1 in stats, but you do gain 1+1 for each other pirate you control, and the card also has Rush. So I think this is a really good card actually in Rogue. If you're playing the pirate deck specifically, you can't play this without pirates. But that's what pirates want to do. They want to have pirates on the board, and this allows you to get a bigger pirate on the board. So it costs 2 mana. So you just only have to have 2 other pirates on the board to get a good value out of this. 2 mana 3/3 is pretty nice to be able to play on curve, be able to use your mana efficiently and get a big minion. Because it's a battle cry, it does work really well with the spirit. You'll actually gain 2+2 for each other pirate you control, so you can make some really big pirates. And it also has some really great synergy with Captain Hooktusk, because if you play Hooktusk, get a bunch of pirates out, then you play the Bloodsail Howler, then you're going to be getting quite a big Bloodsail Howler with Rush that you can trade in as well. So that's pretty good. It does have anti-synergy with Hooktusk as well, though, because you really don't want to pull this out of your deck with Hooktusk, because it's a battle cry, so it will just come out as a 1/1 with Rush. So that's not great, to be honest. So you want to be able to draw this early. It also synergizes really well with the Shark Fin Fan, because that's a way you can generate lots of smaller pirates to get the bonus on this. So I quite like it. I don't think we have many good 1-drop pirates that are survivable, so potentially on turn 2 you're not going to get much benefit out of this. This is more of a card that you want to be playing a bit later in the game to gain the extra battle cry effect. But having Rush, I think, really pushes this card over the edge as being a really good pirate. Next up, we've got a rare priest card, and I think this is quite a welcome addition to the priest class. It costs 5 mana, it's called Mass Hysteria, and forces each minion to attack another random minion. So I think in a lot of classes this would be pretty bad, but in Priest I think it could be really good. Now there's obvious downsides. There's a lot of randomness to the card because you don't know which minions will attack each minion. Your opponent's minions can trade into your own minions, but I don't think that's the point of it. I think you're supposed to play this when you're playing against a zoo or an aggro deck. They've got lots of minions, you haven't got any minions. You play this, it's kind of a bit like Brawl in Warrior. And the reason why I think it's quite good in Priest is because they need it. Against aggro decks, sometimes Priest is quite difficult because Spirit Lash often isn't enough, and you have to wait till turn 7 to play your Psychic Scream. So having something that you can play on turn 5 is fantastic. It's not good against single targets. It won't do anything. So I'm thinking Odd Rogue, if they've got their Hench Clan Thug on the board, it's not a very good way to remove that. They don't often have another big minion next to a Hench Clan Thug. So if you played Mass Hysteria, the Hench Clan Thug might trade into the other minion and kill it, but the Thug would still be there, is the point I'm trying to make. Also, the randomness means you never know which one they're going to attack. But in aggro decks, I think there's some truth to saying that a lot of their minions have higher attack than health. So you could potentially remove a few minions at least from their board. So a pretty good card, which I think Priest needs because Dustbreaker is the only really viable early game board clear you could play. So this kind of adds to that. It has the potential to be better than Brawl because of course you can clear all minions, but actually I think this is a worse card than Brawl, but still a good one. Next up we have an Epic Hunter card. This only costs 1 mana, it's called the Beast Within. And it gives a friendly beast +1/+1, then it attacks a random enemy minion. I don't think this card is strong enough to see play just because you can only use it on beasts, but it does have some really powerful implications, so maybe in the right deck you could make this work. So just to explain how the card would work is, if you play a beast onto the board it can't attack, but if you play this with it you give it +1/+1 and then it will kind of rush, it's kind of like rush, into an enemy minion, but the enemy minion is random, so you can't pick which one it chooses. So that would be kind of an instance you could use it with. You could also use it with a minion that has survived for 1 turn. You could attack your opponent's face or trade it into another minion. Then you play this on it and it can kind of attack twice in the same turn. So that is quite an efficient way to get some trades on the board. I think it's also a really good way to give Overkill minions rush, kind of. So if you played Undasta, then you've got a big beast on the board. You can play this. It gives it +1/+1, which really synergizes well with Overkill, and then it lets it attack the same turn it's played, which also synergizes really well with Overkill. The problem being that you can't pick which minion it attacks, so you don't know whether the Overkill effect is going to definitely trigger. But if your opponent's only got 1 minion on the board, then you know exactly what it's going to hit. So it could be something that works quite well. It could work quite well with Revenge of the Wild as well. So you trade in your beasts on the board, then you resummon them with Revenge of the Wild, then you play Beast Within and you can get another attack with one of those beasts you resummon. So quite a good tempo play. However, it's a 1 mana spell. It's not great to top deck if you haven't got a beast on the board or a beast in your hand. It would work very well with Deathstalker Rexar. Build a beast, a big one, then give it this. That could be fantastic. I think once we see the Hunter lower, which we haven't, maybe this will become much better. But at the moment, it's a really strong play in specific situations, but maybe those situations are a little bit too specific. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know in the comments what you thought about the cards, and I'll see you in the next one.